Well, happy Saturday, folks. The real Captain Kirk here. We're live from One Bethlehem Plaza here in downtown Bethlehem, Pennsylvania here on the 25th of April here, last full weekend of April. Gloomy day here. In fact, it's raining now, and it's in the actually low 40s. So it's 42 degrees right now for middle of the day here. So chilly for sure for us this time of year. Thought we'd ask the robots here today. Again, what we do with Weather Trends Year Ahead Forecast is more of a statistical climate cycle approach. We don't use traditional meteorology, traditional physics to predict year ahead. Doesn't work beyond a week or two. But one methodology is analogs. You just line up all the cycles that you're hearing about, El Ninos and La Ninas and Pacific Ocean cycles, Atlantic Multi-Decadal Oscillation cycles, solar cycles. Line them all up. Look at them in the past when those exact patterns occurred in the past over the last 130 or so years to then trying to project, well, if we're under those same patterns again this year, then what would we see? This is generally the theme of a strong emerging going from La Nina to a stronger El Nino cycle. So this is what you expect for spring. Again, we prepared these maps many moons ago, but generally the theme is cool in the upper Midwest, warm and dry in the southeast. Kind of have some of that. Hasn't been quite as cool in the west. So we transition to summer here as we get toward a stronger El Nino cycle, and amongst others. Again, this is kind of what you'd see. It's kind of a cool, wet theme for the eastern two-thirds of the country. Can remain kind of hot and dry there, maybe in Texas. And as we transition to fall, we disagree with this to an extent. This one has a dry fall. We don't think that's the case. We actually have the wet fall, the wettest in 8 years. So analogs aren't exactly right. But again, so this one's kind of out of sync with our year ahead forecast. And then winter, you generally have a warm theme because you have keep the polar jet stream kind of at bay to the north. But a very wet, stormy pattern going from California into the southeast up the east coast. Now, what can happen in these scenarios is we do get a lot of nor'easters. They tend to be warm, wet nor'easters up the east coast. However, they frequently can make one huge blizzard. So if you get it's a year where you really have no snow, very few snow events in the northeast, mid-Atlantic, but you tend to get one big one. So that's kind of the theme here for winter. So that's kind of the analog technology. We like it when it kind of agrees with what our year ahead said. Look at last week world summer here, ending here today here in the U.S. It was 2.7 cooler than last year. Still 17th warmest nationally. Hot days were up about 19%, and it was 38% drier. So some of the equation for what's good for spring seasonal sale, which is warm and dry. Northeast was clearly the unfavorable spot. Even California was on a cooler, even wetter spot. So West Coast California, Northeast, not so great. So kind of a dampening impact. Big map here is trends versus last year. Inset maps are trends versus average. One thing that made some minor improvement here over the last few weeks is drought is now at 76%. It had been as high as in the low 80% range. So dry to drought phases is improved a bit, not much. Versus last year, about 59%. So we're still way above average here for dry to drought phases. We do believe, though, by fall, late summer, fall, you're going to say that this is below average, meaning a wet pattern here as we go through this transition cycle to El Nino. One thing that's done exceptionally well here, again, it kind of shocked here. Sometimes we amaze ourselves with the year ahead outlook, but this was a year ahead spring 2026 outlook made back in July last year. We've added our 9th hit here for the spring season, a late frost and freeze to the Ohio Valley Northeast. We actually dipped to 24 degrees here on the 21st of April here in eastern PA. That's crazy cold, coldest in over 40, 50 plus years. So near record historic cold with the freeze. Not good for strawberries and some of this tender vegetation that came out. And sadly, we are not out of the woods with frost and freezes. We think there's another round here coming for early May for the Midwest, Ohio Valley, Great Lakes interior, Northeast. So again, not out of the woods yet with frost and freezes. Severe weather picked up a lot of steam here this past week. We had 136 tornadoes from last week, 259 hail events, 410 wind events. So all of these metrics are above average, but all generally below last year's extreme start. So again, above average, but just not as extreme as it was a year ago. It will be extreme here the next few days here. We have a very high likelihood of severe weather, tornadoes, really from Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, into the Illinois area, getting into early next week, Indiana, Ohio Valley. So again, keep an eye to the sky here because definitely a severe weather pattern. As you get that colder weather coming into the country, you tend to flare up these severe weather events. Look at this week here. Again, hard to believe it's the end of Q1, February, April for most retailers here. Ending kind of a chilly, damp start here. And 4.3 cooler than last year, coldest in 3 years, 20th coldest in 40 years. So a little bit below average nationally. Real unfavorable spots. Again, the map inset left there is the trends versus last year. So very, very cold compared to a year ago along the East Coast, upper Midwest, upper Rockies. Hot days up again, a little bit misleading here, up 7%. But again, that's limited to probably Texas and Florida. And rainfall also up 18%, 11th what is in 41 years with this stormy pattern here. So cooler, wetter, not what we want to see here. So definitely going to be a negative impact here for the end of Q1 retail sales, seasonal sales. Next week here, again, kicking off Q2. We're going to kick it off with the week prior to Mother's Day here. Some good news. Again, same general theme here. A little misleading here. We're saying the nation overall is up 0.8 for high temperatures, but if we look at overall temperatures, including low and high, it's actually the coolest in 3 years. So again, the unfavorable spots are generally going to be in the northeast, a little bit cooler in the southeast, and again, year on year, much colder in the upper Midwest. Hot days down about 23%, least in 7 years, and rainfall, we'll see about this. Again, models have just struggled here with this pattern. Not a fan of the euro right now, but down 24% versus last year, driest in 3. Again, we'll see about that. Still another severe weather setup from Texas into Illinois and the Ohio Valley, so that could add to these rainfall totals. We aggregate these 2-week trends here. Again, world 2-week temperature outlooks. Again, 26 April through 9 May. General theme is generally still kind of cool across to Canada, maybe warm in the northwest Canada, northwest U.S. Very, very warm in Western Europe, just similar to trend as U.S., but colder in Eastern Europe. So kind of the same general footprint that we have in the East here in the U.S. Again, cold East, warmer West. Very warm down in Brazil. They finally got a warm, dry period here after a kind of a cooler, wetter season that they've had here. So you can see this big bullseye of dry weather there in Brazil. Again, stormy across the U.S. For sure. Still talking snow in parts of Canada here. So Europe, generally Northern Europe, UK on the drier side. So that, folks, have a great week ahead, and we'll talk to you again this time next week.